Hi, Alan Stratton from As Wood Turns. One of the wood turning clubs that I belong to has a wood raffle. I've shown several pieces from it in the past. This is probably the most unusual. It is wormy cottonwood, and usually I show you the end product, but this time this is so light, so airy, so wormy that I'm frankly not sure whether I'll be able to get anything out of it. So I'll show it to you in raw state, and let's hope that something comes from it. I'll start by flattening one end and gluing it to a faceplate so that I can control it as much as possible, but from there on, who knows what we're going to get.
I am sure someone would say to cast this block of wood into resin to stabilize it, but what's the fun of that? I'm sure it would be nice, but the project would not have any story. This wood has a story of worms, cottonwood, how I got it, then a story of my fear of turning it, risk versus reward. So here we go with some of the details. I'm sanding one side of the block in preparation for gluing it to a faceplate. Here's another part of the story, the glue. Should I use tape, hot melt, CA, epoxy, or plain wood glue? There's not a lot of solid wood here for glue to hold to. Hot melt would be tough to clean off. I'm going to spend the time to use wood glue and let it dry overnight. I want a good thick layer of glue that will go into some of the wormholes and try to grab something, anything. The glue has dried and I'm ready to go. The tailstock is in place, but the live center would just drive into the wood and disintegrate it more than it is. So I have a rubber stopper to provide a little more surface area. And I've not cranked a lot on the tailstock. Since this is dry wormy wood, I'm wearing a dust mask. There's nothing pretty here yet. As I round off the wood with my favorite bowl gouge, I don't get any shavings at all. As I cut, I only get brown powder. There's no change in the wood color as I cut it. A chunk of wood near the top comes off. I decide not to glue it in. What would I glue it to? There's no solid wood, only the network of wormholes. I decide to go for a hollow form. I'm using a hand drill to bore a hole near the bottom. This is supposed to make it easier to hollow. However, for this hollow form, there's no solid wood, but probably still a good thing to do the drill. For hollowing, I'm starting with a straight bit in my hollowing setup. I made this rig before moving from Oregon when I had access to a metal shop. I had decided not to turn any deep hollow forms until I could do it without possibly tearing up a shoulder. So I built this from various plans on the internet and with advice from my metalworking mentors. One big difference between the plans on the internet is that I used bronze thrust bushings instead of needle thrust bearings. Why? Because this rig will never need high-speed actuation. The bushings were a fraction of the cost of bearings. With the straight bit having removed the bulk of the wood, well, rather it pulverized the bulk of the wood and transformed it to powder. I'm switching to a bent tool with a teardrop scraper to even out the inside wall. I had to turn the teardrop scraper to get it closer to the neck. With the hollowing complete, I still do not see any solid wood. I'm sanding this with 80 grit at high speed to smooth out the ridges, but I'm not going to sand with any finer grit. It would be futile. Then part it off, but I don't dare cut it completely off with a tool. This could be tough to catch and not likely to survive a bounce on concrete. With about 1 inch diameter remaining of the wood, I also do not dare testing it to see if it would break off. If I did, it could open a big hole in the bottom, so I'm resorting to a saw. I'm cleaning up the bottom with a 2-inch sanding pad and 80 grit paper. I want to sign the vase, but there's not much solid space on the bottom for a wood-burning signature. At least I tried. In case there are any remaining worms or bugs, I microwave the unfinished vase for 20 seconds. I'm finishing this now with walnut oil. It soaks up the oil like a sponge. Another chunk broke out of the neck while applying finish. No glue, just more character. So here's my finished vase. It survived, and I survived. Actually, I was at very little risk because this wood is barely holding together and does not have enough mass to hurt me. If it did fly, it would turn into a dust cloud. Still, I did wear my full face shield and a dust mask. As it turns out, this was a nice vase with an incredible story. I'm glad I turned it. I'm glad it held together. Given that I protected myself, it was worth the risk. That's it for this vase from Nasty Wormy Cottonwood. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe on my website, and tell your friends. Please wear your full face shield. Goggles are not enough protection. I'm Alan Stratton from As Wood Turns. Every week I make a new wood turning video, so come on back next week.